Good evening and welcome to Yonnie Unfiltered, the podcast where we stop sugarcoating, stop settling, and start leveling up. It's your girl, Yonnie Unfiltered, and I'm here with two of our most important guests. We have Brother Courtney, and then we also have Miss Marcia. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me to be a part of your podcast, and I will certainly, by God's grace, make a wonderful impact and give my wonderful input to enhance your program. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So it says breaking news. Not just the kind you want to hear that is on the regular TV. Today, we are talking about something that affects most or almost everybody, but nobody wants to admit. And that is money. Not just making it, not just spending it, but why people struggle with it over and over again. Welcome back to Yonnie Unfiltered. I am your host, Yonnie, and today we are getting real because it's just about money. This is about mindset. This is about habit. This is about trauma. And this is about the truth. So I need you to ask yourself something right now. Is your money problem really about money, or is it about something else that is much deeper? Let's talk about it. Let's start here. Most people think they struggle with money because they don't make enough, things are too expensive, or life is just too hard. And yes, those are real. But let me tell you something that might hit a little different. There are people making 30Ks that are struggling, and people making 300Ks struggling too. So what does it tell us? This is not just about income. This is about how you think and how you behave and what you have been taught about money. Some people were never taught how to save, how to budget, how to invest, or how to delay gratification. And if nobody taught you, how were you supposed to know? But here's the hard truth. At some point, what do you know becomes what you don't know becomes your responsibility to learn. And that's where the shift begins. Now, let's go deeper. Because a lot of money struggles don't start with adulthood, they start in childhood. Think about how you grew up. Did you hear anything like money don't grow on trees? We can't afford that. Rich people are greedy. We just getting by, or we are just getting by. Because these statements, they just don't pass through your ears. They plant seeds in your mind. And those seeds grow into beliefs like I have never had enough. Money is stressful. Having money is wrong. I am not meant to be wealthy. So no, you're an adult trying to build a life, but you're operating from a scarcity mindset you didn't even choose. That's what I call financial trauma. And nobody talks about that part. Some people don't overspend because they are careless. They overspend because they never had anything growing up. So no. Probably. All right. So, Brother Courtney, the question is, are you managing money or are you reacting to your past? What would you say about that question?
Okay. I believe at this moment I am managing money.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier in my life, I was not managing money. I was just reacting,
Right.
because traditionally, as Yannick mentioned, that oftentimes the money problem that we think we have is not based on the fact that we have much or we don't have much. It
Right.
is of mindset. And one of the
Right.
things I do know is that the rich teach their children
Mm-hmm.
in a wise way to manage money and to
Right.
let money work for them.
Right.
So, for example, the rich would teach their children that when they get money, they save it and to own asset. So you own a building where you can rent.
Mm-hmm.
And when you rent that building, you make money. So the building
Sorry.
represents your money making money.
Right.
While the poor will allow their children to work hard, earn money, and live extravagant life.
Right.
And so they never become owners of assets. They're just being consumers.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I find now is that a lot of persons now end up having liabilities or having so much things that taking their money instead of having things that will help generate money.
Right. That is true. That is so true.
Right. So
Mhm.
as the scripture said, money answered all things. And it also said that the foolish person will have their money and lose it,
Right.
while the wise will have and multiply.
That is true. All right. So we're gonna continue. Thank you so much for that. Let's talk about something that catches a lot of people off guard. Lifestyle inflation. This is when you make more money, but your expenses grow just as faster. So now instead of being stable, you're still stressed. New job, new car, more income, more bills, promotion. Now you deserve more spendings. And suddenly you're not just building wealth, you're just maintaining a lifestyle. Do you agree with that, Brother Courtney? And what would do you say, or what would you say about that?
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that because when I look at the whole reality, take for example, you have two young men,
Mm-hmm.
right? One, both of them, they wasn't working, but now they start to work. And put say John Doe and
Mm-hmm.
Mark Doe. John Doe decide that now that he's earning and he get a raise up here, he
Right.
don't want a little Toyota Corolla anymore. He want to get what I call a Beast, which is a Mark II, or get a BMW. He doesn't want to just have the Wi-Fi in the house. He want to have cable. And then he doesn't
Right.
want to have his woman at home. He want to have a fleet of young women.
Right. That is
And
true.
so as his earning increase, he increase all the things that go along with that.
Right.
And
Right.
so even though he's earning more money now, he's more stressful than
Mm-hmm.
before. While and Mark Doe, that is John Doe, Mark Doe on the other hand, he
Right.
will have a mindset seeing that he works and he's earning now, he doesn't spend as much
Right.
as John Doe. He spend only upon the important things. And then he seek not just be a worker, but to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
And this now shows up that it is the mindset that make the difference.
That's true.
And we have to be very careful which mindset we adapt because it
Right.
determines what type of person we will become at the end of certain age.
That is true. That is so true. So you're not just building wealth, you are just maintaining a lifestyle. And let me be clear, there's nothing wrong with enjoying your money. But if every dollar you earn is already spent in your mind, you're always gonna feel broke. Because wealth wealth is not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep and how well you manage it. Do you think um people of today's society really look at this, or they think that this about money, that it's about how you spend it or not how much you make, but how you manage the money? Do you think young people, older person, do you think people have a mindset of such, in which they keep in everyday life, as to say, oh, if I'm spending, I'm trying to manage in the best way I can? Or you think that they try to spend according to, because, oh, I'm working for it, so I'm just living the life? What do you say about that?
Well, what I've seen happening is that there's a change in the mindset of persons today in compared to persons back then. For
Yeah.
example, persons back then, they would have work, build up their network, and they would try to have properties and other things, which,
Right.
for example, you find like when their children go into college or they want something, they could sell sell some asset that they have there, maybe a piece of money or
Hmm.
something. They would have certain amount of money in their bank account, which they could give as assistance to their children,
Right.
right? And for themselves now, when they are in retirement, that was a mindset.
Right.
Then, but today, because of how the entertainment circle, the other aspect of um how society geared person to think.
Right.
Person don't work and save and build something for their future. They just spend and try to keep up with the vibes. And so when life slow down on them physically, they don't have anything in the backup to help
Hmm.
themselves. So it's a mindset.
Right.
And it is one of the things that is killing the the people nowadays. For example, but then person could stop working and have assets that
Hmm.
they could liquidate
Right.
to get themselves. Process today, most of them, they are thinking mainly, some of them thinking mainly on their retirement pension plan. And
Hmm.
oftentimes what they get for their pension cannot hold out much
Hmm.
because cost of living going up. So you find inflation dig down deep into the little pension reserve that they have there.
Right.
So the mindset today is far different from the one back then. And so those who have a mindset of modern time now just don't have a good foundation. And that's
Right.
why many of them even leave, go on retirement and have to go back out seeking work.
That is true. So true. So now let's talk about something real. Emotional spending. What do you think emotional spending is? And because before we get any further, what do you think emotional spending is? And do you think people really spend emotionally?
Yes, a lot of persons spend emotionally. And let me say what I get from emotional spending
Mm-hmm.
based upon experience. All right. They would say that the older folks have a mindset of planning.
Right.
They plan what they want and how they're gonna go about getting what they want. So they would make a budget, right? A lot
Right.
of us now who are emotional, they act as person who go on shopping spree. So They have money coming to them and they go out. They don't walk with a plan or a schedule or a little notepad with the items that they want, right? So
Right.
they go and they just see things and begin to buy. And they might go out with even $10,000 and they come back with $0.
Right.
And next person might go out with the same 10,000, having
Mm-hmm.
a plan, and when they go, they come back with all 2,000 plus what they carry back goods that is wholesome and lasting. So they don't spend because of feelings. They don't purchase things because of it look nice or it is a trend.
Right.
All right. So the
Mm-hmm.
emotional shopping personal, emotional, personal spend emotionally, they spend because of the trend or because the thing look nice. They don't go for quality and
Mm-hmm.
and for proper proper bargain.
Right.
And so oftentimes they run in deep problem compared to the person who make a budget, know what he or she want in quality and quantity, and they don't go above their budget.
Right.
So this is a difference between those who are emotional and those who spend with wisdom and tactical maneuvering.
All right. Very good. A lot of people don't have a money problem. They have an emotional regulation problem. Let's be honest. How many times have you shopped when you were stressed? Bought something to feel better? Spent money because they were bored? Or tried to treat yourself after a bad day? And there's nothing wrong with enjoying life. But when spending becomes your coping mechanism, that's where the problem starts. Because now money is tied to your feelings. So every time life hits you, your wallet takes it too. And here's the truth most people avoid: discipline will take you farther than motivation ever will. Do you think people have discipline in spending money? Or do you think they live by this principle? Discipline will take you further than motivation ever will? Do you think people have discipline in spending?
I tell you, there's a few persons that have discipline in spending. Most persons, they don't spend based upon discipline. And
Mm-hmm.
lack of discipline in spending and in laboring is what caused a lot of persons to go down in poverty. And
Right.
let me give an example. So there you have two gentlemen, one rich and another one is poor. And so the poor one working in a coal mine and the rich one by misfortune end up become poor.
Right.
Both the rich man will become poor and the poor man, both of them now working in the same coal mine. And so now the poor man, when he earn, he would first buy a sumptuous meal and spend a good chunk of his money. He don't save any. The one who was rich and become poor, he earn, but he buy a medium meal and he save some of his earning. And after a period of time, that man who was rich and become poor because he spent wisely
Right.
and save after a while, he have enough now to start up a business and get out of the poverty that he end up into. While the poor man, because he doesn't move wise, he end up eat out all that he should have saved and remain in the poor state. So these are two examples
Right.
clearly of the different mindset.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
When we have the mindset of spending and managing what we earn wisely, even if we end up poor, we can bounce back up. But the one who don't follow and just spend, 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 following his belly or fashion, will remain poor until you reach a grave.
Right, that's true. And a lot of people in today's society, they are not aware because school doesn't teach them how to spend or how to manage money. So, and people are they just live anyhow, they just do anything. And for that reason, they don't even consider, listen, I can just save a little bit of this because it will make my life better. I can take myself out of a certain situation because listen, I'm not gonna live anyhow and just live like a dog on the street and not taking care of myself or to live in a way that I can say, oh, I can afford a meal by tomorrow. Some people, it's not by choice that they are not able to buy a meal or to live in a particular way, but it goes on to our discipline. It shows us that if we are disciplined enough, then we'll make better decisions.
Right. That's
So,
it.
right. So discipline will take you further than motivation ever will because feeling change, but habits, they define your outcome. So I need you to think about this. Are you spending based on your needs or based on your emotion? Let's suggest something major. A lot of people struggle with money because nobody taught them how to manage it. School doesn't teach credit, investing, budgeting, taxes, wealth building. So people grow up, but not how to keep what they earn. And then society judge them for struggling. Society just judge them for struggling. That's backward. But here's where accountability comes in. You might not have been taught, but you can still learn. We live in a time where information is everywhere, resources are accessible, and knowledge is free. So the question now is, why didn't I learn this? The question is, what am I doing now to change my situation? Let's get real for a moment because Yonnie Unfiltered, at some point, you have to stop blaming everything else. Yes, life happens. Yes, things get hard. But if every paycheck disappears, if debt keeps growing, if knowing is changing, you have to look at you. That's not judgment, that's empowerment. Because the moment you take responsibility, you take control. And control is where change begins. So instead of saying, I am just bad with money, start saying, I am learning how to be better with money. I want to leave this with you. Money doesn't just reveal your habits, it reveals your mindset. If you don't fix how you think, you'll keep repeating what you do. So here's your homework. Ask yourself, what did I learn about money growing up? And what habits are hurting me right now? What can I change starting today? Because change doesn't happen overnight, but it does start with awareness. If this episode spoke to you, share it, comment, and let's keep the conversation going because somebody out there needs to hear about this. All right, before you go, I have a few questions that I'd like to ask. Do you think money struggles are more about mindset or income?
Yes, money to me is more about mindset than income.
Yes.
And I have experienced a whole lot. All right, there's a game that they classify as one of the games for the rich. and
Right.
that game is a card game. It is known as Monopoly.
Right. Monopoly. I heard about that.
Right?
Mhm.
And what Monopoly teaches that the rich will buy one red house, and
Mhm.
then he get two red house, three red house, and
Mhm.
then after a certain amount of red house, it would turn those red house
Mhm.
into a cluster of business,
Right.
and they would seek, even if they sell those red house, would seek with that income now to buy a property at the corner of a main road, the intersection.
Right.
So those red house now, if, so for example now, you have right at a street corner where intersection, if you buy one house, then you buy this adjacent house until you might have four or five houses connected in a row at the
Mhm.
corner.
Right.
And that now is prime real estate.
Right.
So you can rent those houses for business,
Mhm.
right? So that's a rich person do. And this come from the game Monopoly. There's a book that I read known as Rich Dad and Poor Dad.
Right.
For those who can't get it to buy online, they can get a PDF form of that book and download. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So it is a mindset, right?
Right.
The poor person will say, boy, you know what happened? I am poor, and boy, I am not gonna be rich. And so they earn, they just spend. Now, a person can poor and
Mhm.
end up get a job where is a skill job. You don't
Right.
know much, but you start to work in that job. And if you have a mindset and want to be rich, you don't look at the money, you
Right.
look at gaining the skill.
That is it. That's true.
Because when you gain the skill, you can use that skill to determine how much salary you get,
Right.
right? So it is a mindset.
That is true.
Person's mindset will determine if they are rich or they remain in poverty.
Right. That's
So
true.
those are some examples I give there that we
Right.
can learn that is a mindset. Yeah. Lastly, the Bible in Book of Proverbs is said that the sluggard or the lazy
Mhm.
person will go out and they look at the thing that they want to hunt and lay down their arms and decide, say, I'm not going to hunt that today.
Right.
Right? And a little slumber, a little fall off, and you end up become poverty stricken.
Right.
So it's a mindset.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. What's one habit you know is hurting you right now as it relates to money? What's one habit you know is hurting you right now?
Well, for myself, I don't know of any habit in mind that's hurting me, but I know one of the habit that hurt a lot of person now is that they keep on doing doing only their finance the same wrong way over and over and not getting any good result.
Right.
So when it comes to business, you have to discipline
Right. That's
in
true.
business,
That's
right?
true.
There's a saying that the fool and his money shall soon depart. So there's a scripture also that said that the person that deal with a slack hand will come to
Mm-hmm.
poverty, but the
Right.
person that deal wisely will have a whole lot. So one of the habit that person they slack when they come on to handling money. They
Okay.
just spend foolishly, or everybody come and ask, they just give,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they just give and spend without making checks and balance. It's like they don't discipline themselves to say no, or discipline themselves to say, I will only spend this amount now and I won't spend any more. And
Mm-hmm.
then another thing that keeps some person poverty there too, lack of
Right.
discipline, is that they tend to credit a whole lot rather
Right.
than to save and purchase.
Right.
So when you credit, you keep yourself in a constant level of debt.
Mm-hmm. That's
Right.
true.
But when you become debt free, the credit card, you use it wisely.
Right.
Avoid long term um,
Yes.
um, payment plan. So
Oh,
if you want a stove and you want a fridge and you can buy that cash, save and buy cash or lay away, no problem. But when you go on higher purchase, for example, you no problem. If you want to buy something which carries subscription, every time you have to pay a subscription fee, that's another killer.
that's true.
So avoid those things. And if you're gonna do shopping, like for grocery
Right.
or clothes, you can buy bulk or you wait until you see things is on sale, good
Mm-hmm.
quality, make your purchase those time. So
Right.
save the money, put it down, and wait until you hear the bling bling bling. There's a there's a sale. You go for the sale and buy your stuff.
That is true. So, were you taught healthy money habits growing up?
No, I wasn't taught that much. I
Oh,
grow with my grandparents, but what I do, I learn. So what I don't, I never get first hand. Said someone sit me down and teach me. I
right.
learn by observation, and I
Right.
learn also by seeing person fall into disrepute, and I
Mm-hmm.
learn from their mistake and
Okay.
apply myself to those seen
Right.
and build myself up.
But would you recommend that these things be taught in school? How to budget, how to handle money, like manage to have a better money management? Would you recommend those to be taught in school in order to get people to be aware of how they need to, moving forward, how is it that they need to manage their money or the
Yes,
mindset that they have?
yes, I would agree that it should start in school, but
Mm-hmm.
the way all school teach finance today, money,
Right.
it doesn't teach money, monetary affair
Right.
for persons to really be on a
Successful.
level. It
Right.
teach them to get a good education where you can work 9 to 5 and go through. You don't teach you to be a boss, right?
Okay, I understand.
However, one thing for sure, a Bible again, the book of Proverbs, it said, if you want to know wisdom, how to manage your wealth, go to the ants. The ants have no king over them. Go to the bees, look at them. So in the book of Proverbs, it teach you financial skill. It teach you to save, to be wise, to be thrifty,
Right.
right? So I can give Bible verse on Bible verse where
Mm-hmm.
God teaches children. And another thing again, there's a scripture in the New Testament that said, whosoever feared to make provision for himself and for his own soul is
Mm-hmm.
worse than an infidel.
Okay.
And it also teaches in the scriptures that those wise parent would leave an inheritance for their children and children. And that's where we see, for example, now the the story that Christ gave, the parable about the prodigal son. You notice the father, he never
Mm-hmm.
did spend off everything what he have, but he heard and he make a budget and lay away some funds for his sons.
Right.
And even the one that did go and use up his portion, when
Mm-hmm.
he come back, daddy did still have something that could
Right.
help him.
Right.
So we have to learn to work. When we earn, save, lay away something, and don't go about spending because of feelings,
That is true.
but be wise.
Okay. So thank you so much for joining me. And this is Yonnie Unfiltered, where we don't just talk about surface, we go deep. If this episode spoke to you, share it, comment, and let's keep the conversation going because somebody out there needs to hear this. Until next time, stay real, stay aware, and stay intentional. Thank you so much.
You're
Let me
most
go.
welcome.